Hey everyone, so the next step is going to be to code it. So to begin, we're going to click on our yellow events tab and we're going to use when green flag clicked. Once you have that, we're going to go into variables and we're going to add a set block. We're going to change this to to score. Make sure that it's the one that does not have the exclamation mark at the end. So this is very important. Again, there are two. There's one with an exclamation mark at the end. Just make sure that it does not have that when you're changing the set block. After that, we're going to go ahead and go into the yellow events tab and we're going to add when I receive 2. Then we're going to go into control and add a forever. Inside of the forever, we're going to add an if then. And then we're going to go ahead and go into our control tab and add 2 set blocks inside of the if then. So we're going to reset some variables when something happens, and that something is going to be when we lose. That way it resets for the next game. So we're going to click on our operators, use our equal sign, turn the 50 to a 1, since that's how we know we've lost a game. We're going to click on variable, and we're going to add the dead bubble. So now we're going to go ahead and change the 2 different types of variables that we want to reset. The first one is going to be clone, and the second one is going to be score. Next, we're going to add from control, we're going to scroll all the way down. And when I start as a clone, inside of control, still we're going to forever, going to looks, set ghost effect to 75. Later on, you guys can test this out to make sure that this is what you want. For the ghost effect, there are going to be 2 high scores being displayed. One of them is going to be a previous old one, and the other one is going to be the current one that's going to be a little bit lighter. So that's why we're making one lighter and one darker, just to make sure you're able to tell the difference between the 2 of them. So the next thing that we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go into the yellow events tab. We're going to add when I receive start game. Then we're going to go inside of control. We're going to go inside of variable, and we're going to add a set clone to 0. And then we're going to go into looks and hide this. Alright guys, after that, we're going to go back into the yellow events tab and add another when I receive 2. Next, we're going to go into looks and we're going to set ghost effect by 75. As a precaution, we're going to reset our score to 0. Then we're going to wait 0.1 seconds. And then in the motions tab, we're going to go to X0, Y0. We're going to go into looks, and we're going to hide. Then we're going to go into variable, and we're going to set our clone to 0. Then we're going to go into control, repeat 10. And we're going to now change our clone by 1. And we're going to go into control and create clone of myself. And this will allow us to have, right here. This will allow us to have them exactly where we want them to be positioned. Both of the different types of scores will be displaying. So I'm just going to zoom out a little bit so you guys can see what we've done so far. Okay. So now we're going to make the next code that's going to have this big block. So I'm just going to go ahead and move this a little bit low, just so that it's not in the way for right now. And on the empty space that we have, we're going to start with inside of control. When I start as a clone, we're going to go ahead and go into looks, and we're going to show. Then we're going to go inside of control again, and we're going to forever repeat until we're going to go into operators and use the equal sign. We're going to go into variable and use our dead bubble and change the 50 to 1. So we're going to continue repeating this code inside here, which is going to keep track of our actual score until we've actually lost our game. Okay. We're going to go into looks, and we're going to set size to 300. Then we're going to go ahead, still inside of looks, we're going to add a switch costume to. Now we're going to go into operators and use the minus sign. And then inside of the left-hand side empty bubble, still inside of operators, we're going to use letters of. For the 1, we're going to go into variable and change this to clone. For apple, we're going to change this to score. And for the empty bubble, we're just going to make this -1. Okay. Underneath this, we're going to go ahead and now take this long block that was already here for us, and we're going to put it right below our switch costume to. Then we're going to go ahead and go into our motions tab, and we're going to add a change Y by. Inside of the change Y by, we're going to go into the operators and use the multiplication symbol. And on the left-hand side, we're going to use the subtraction symbol. So starting with the first bubble on the left-hand side, we're going to make this 0. We're going to go into the blue motions tab and add the Y position bubble. And then we're changing this to 0.2. The last thing we're going to go ahead and add is underneath the change Y by, we're going to go into control. We're going to use an if then else. We're going to go into operators and use a greater than. On the empty bubble, we'll use length of. And on the 50, we're going to use the subtraction symbol. So for the length of, we're going to go into operators and use score. And then on the next empty bubble, the one in the middle right here, we're going to go ahead and use clone. And on the empty one, we're just going to make this a 1. After that, on the first bracket, we're going to go into looks and add a show. And then right below, we're going to add a hide. Okay. And with that, we're all done with the code. So I'm just going to zoom out a little bit so you guys can see. So all the code is doing is making sure that it knows when it's able to display it. It knows to change to the correct costume in order to show the actual number of the score. And it's telling it exactly where it needs to be positioned on our screen. So that's what all this code is doing. Once you're done, we're going to go ahead and move on to creating our high score next.